Hello, my name is Dr. James Yohe. I am the instructor here at Gadsden State for Business 100. And today we're going to talk about some of the things in Chapter 1. One of the things in Chapter 1 that they talk about is the nature of a business. What is a business or a firm? I'm going to talk about it more as a firm. Now, your book gives a basic explanation, but there's some problems with it. So we're going to go a little bit over it in greater detail and maybe change a couple things. Your book says that a business is individuals or an organization who try to earn a profit by providing products that satisfy people's needs. That's pretty dang good. The purpose of a firm is not to make a profit. At least that's not why we have firms in our society. In a free market, is where we have capitalism, where it's a voluntary sense of a social organization where the use of coercive force is not allowed. I can't make you buy something. I can't make you work somewhere. You can't make me employ you. You can't make me give you something. Everything is done voluntarily. If you don't want to work somewhere, you don't work there. If you don't want to buy something, you don't buy something. You go to Walmart, there's nobody standing behind you with a gun and says, hey, you gotta buy that brand of soap over there. Okay. Anyone who wants to can enter a market under pure free market capitalism. Capitalism is a system of economic organization where all the factors of production are owned privately. They are owned by private individuals. Okay. We think of our society, we think, oh, this Goodyear plant, say here in Gadsden, oh, it's owned by Goodyear Corporation. Guess what? Goodyear Corporation doesn't own a dang thing. Because a corporation is simply a piece of paper filled out and filed with the state that says these assets here that we have, the Goodyear plant, the tires, the machines, all the things that make up Goodyear, all these things are held inside of this corporation, okay? And any liabilities or damages done using these assets, okay, are the sole responsibility of the corporation. The government allows individuals who really own Goodyear, if you have a share of Goodyear common stock, you are an owner of Goodyear, you are Goodyear. But the government allows you to say, well, I own this stuff, but it is its own person. A corporation is by law its own person, responsible for its own liabilities and debts and damages. So if some bank lends Goodyear Corporation money and Goodyear Corporation doesn't pay back that money, they can go after the assets inside of Goodyear. They could take the Goodyear plant, they could take the machines, they could take the trucks, they could take the tires to pay back that debt. But they can't go after these people over here, the stockholders, the people who actually own Goodyear. They are their own people. The Goodyear Corporation, by law, is thought of as its own person. So you can't make these people accountable for something that this person did legally. But the real reason that Goodyear exists in a free market isn't to make profit. Now, the owners want it to make a profit. The managers probably want it to make a profit. The employees, some of them probably don't care. Some of them care. Some of them might actually even be owners of the company. They might have stock in the company in their retirement plans. Some of the employees might not care. Say, oh, I don't care about Goodyear. They make profit, not make profit. They fire me, I'll go get another job. But the purpose of that company in our society is not to make a profit. The purpose of that company is to satisfy human wants and needs. and to correctly anticipate those wants and needs and provision for them now. So Goodyear says in a year or 6 months, whatever, people are going to want good tires on their cars. The Honda plant in Lincoln is going to make 10,000 cars of a certain size, and they're going to need 4,000 tires for these cars as they come off the assembly line. So we're going to start now. We're going to put our money where our mouth is now. We believe that these tires are going to be needed in the future, that we're going to be able to offer them at a price that Honda and individuals who put tires on their cars are willing and able to purchase them at. And we can do that at a cost less than what we're going to get paid for them. We're going to put the money in now. We're going to pay our cost in the present or near present to produce a good or a service that will satisfy a future human want or need in 6 months or a year, and then we'll get paid. If Goodyear's good at their job, say they make these tires at $40 a piece, and in 6 months or a year, people are willing and able to spend $50 a piece for the tires, then Goodyear will make a profit. But that profit isn't what's important here. It's important to the stockholders. It might be important to the managers. It's important to some of the employees. But what's important is Goodyear will have made the world a better place. On a free market, firm's job is to take things that are worth less now and convert them into things that are worth more to consumers later. If they've done their job, they will have taken 40 hours of rubber, labor, machine time, land, capital goods, all these things that go into it, the factors of production, time, entrepreneurship, business conditions, and they will have turned them into something that was worth at least $50 to their customers. By doing so, they have created value where it wasn't. They have made things that we didn't like as much into things that we like more, and they will have made the world a better place. They will have added value, created wealth. Consumers, on the other hand, benefit from this. If you go down to the tire store and you need a tire, you look at the tire and you say, okay, it's $50. You compare that to all of the other things that you could use that $50 for. And of all those things you could spend that $50 on, the only way you're going to buy that tire is if it is the best thing that you know of that you could spend $50 on. If you could have spent $50 on a book for this class and you like that book better than the $50, or better than the tire that you would have spent the $50 on, you'll buy the book and you won't buy the tire. You say, no, I don't like the tire that much. I like the book better. I'm going to use the $50 I have to buy the book. You will have been made better off. Goodyear didn't make a sale. And if no one else bought that tire, they'd have to pay for it. They'd have to eat it. And if they had to eat enough tires, or they couldn't sell the tires for more than $40 a piece, they suffer a loss. Of all the factors of production, land, labor, capital goods, entrepreneurship, business conditions, technology, etc., all of those factors of production get paid when services or goods are rendered. Employees get paid every 2 weeks. Whether the tires sell or not, the company owes them that money and pays them. Suppliers of, say, the rubber, they get paid. If a bank has lent them money, they pay the payments on the loans. If, however, all of the costs that they pay are less than what they pay on average for the tires, they've got to make up the difference. That comes out of their pocket. Entrepreneurs are people in our society whose job it is to deal with uncertainty. It is their job to say to forecast future human wants and needs and provision for them now, hoping that they make the right decision. If, let's say, they produce fancy tires that cost $100 a piece to make, and they're really good, but people just want regular tires on their cars, so they won't pay $110 or $120 for the fancy tires. The workers get paid, the suppliers get paid, the banks get paid, all the landowners get paid rent. All the factors of production get paid for except for entrepreneurship. The entrepreneur suffers a loss. He's the only guy in the whole chain that can suffer a loss. If Goodyear went bankrupt before the owners got a penny, the bankruptcy court would say, okay, who do you owe? You owe money to this factor of production labor, wages. After attorney's fees and court costs, wages go first. So the workers get paid. They're going to get paid for the work that they did. Work that Goodyear thought they were working on a $120 tire, when in fact it was only an $80 tire. But they can't go back to the workers and say, hey, remember that money we paid you? Yeah, I got that. And just thank you. Got a problem. We thought those tires you were making were worth $120 to people, and they weren't. They're only worth $80. So we paid you $18 an hour to make those tires. They were $120 tires, and we sold for $80. That's 2/3. Give us a third of your paycheck back. We know that won't, and can't happen. Goodyear went and asked the employees for the money back. They'd laugh. So in a court, say, you're getting the money back. You sold them $18 an hour. That's what you paid them. That's what they get to keep. You're too stupid to do your business. You thought tires that you were making were worth more than they were. That's your fault, not theirs. You thought their labor was worth more than it was. That's your problem, not theirs. They got paid. You agreed to it. Bam, done. End of the subject. But the entrepreneur can lose money. He can lose up to his investment in a corporation. In a private business, say a sole proprietorship, he's going to pay all the debts. If he loaned money for a business, it doesn't matter. If the business can't pay him, you pay him, because you and the business are the same person if you're a sole proprietorship. But the purpose of a firm is not to make profits. It is to make the world a better place by creating value, by taking things that are worth less to your fellow man and converting them into things that are worth more. Okay? When you do that under a capitalist system, where all the factors of production are privately owned and we have a voluntary system of organization in our society, if you do that, you create value, then you get a payment for it. And that's called profit. But companies, firms don't have to earn profits. The only way they earn profits is if they correctly anticipate future human wants and needs and provide for them in a manner where the costs are less than what the tires are worth to the consumer. If they do that, they can make a profit. We want them to make a profit because we want them to create wealth, not destroy it. We don't want firms taking things that are worth more and converting them into things that are worth less. We don't want them taking better things and making worse things out of them, because by doing that, that makes the world a worse place. Things we could have had that were better, we don't have because some idiot converted them into something we really don't want. In that case, on the free market, those firms suffer a loss. And if they don't change their ways or stop, they're going to go bankrupt, and all the factors of production that they controlled will be removed from their hands, sold off at auction, hopefully to someone who can create value, make the world a better place with it, and earn a profit. Now, governments, on the other hand, are not like firms, nor should they be treated like firms. A government takes money first. They stick a gun in your ribs on April 16th and say, pay up. Pay up for what? We'll tell you later. Pay your taxes now. Pay your taxes now, and we'll let you know what you get later. Can you say no? No. What happens if you tell the tax man no? They will lock you up, take your freedom away, and they'll get paid their taxes anyway. They'll sell your house off or your car or whatever you've got, and they'll pay themselves. What if what they give you isn't what you like? I can look to something right now. What about the drug war? How many of us would pay someone to spy on our neighbors and on people we don't know to find out if they're using drugs? And then pay them to break into their houses, take their drugs, stick them in handcuffs, and put them in jail. How much would you pay for that? I wouldn't pay a damn penny. A lot of other people wouldn't. But the government says, nope, we got your tax money. We're going to use it for this, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, and I don't, now don't get me wrong, I don't think people should use drugs. I just don't think it's a crime. They aren't hurting me. Why should I be able to beat them up and take their stuff if they're not hurting me? But I have to pay for it anyway. Okay, so we talked about the purpose of affirming our society in a capitalist society, and we talked about what governments are. Okay, there's literally nothing else. It's either private or it's owned publicly through the government, if you want to call it that. Okay, governments have no way of knowing if they're creating wealth. Like we said with the drug war, is what they're doing, not even does it work, but two, are they doing it in a manner where they're taking things that are worth less and creating things that are worth more to their fellow man? They have no proof because there's no willingness to pay for what the government does. They don't provide services and then receive payment. They receive payment, then decide what services you're going to get for that payment. So they have no idea if these programs are creating wealth or destroying it. Now, when we get into communism and capitalism, which your book discusses, under capitalism, we know if our activities are benefiting our fellow man because we make a profit through the consumer's willingness to pay for the goods and services and the fact that there's a bidding process for the factors of production. If I take things to make a tire that are worth $50 and someone else thinks they could use them to produce, say, rubber ducks that are worth $100, then they would be willing and able to bid more for those resources, knowing they're going to be worth, or believing they're going to be worth $100 when they're done, than I would, knowing they're going to only be worth 50 or believing they're only going to be worth 50 when I'm done. They could say, I'll bid 55 for them because I'm going to use $55 worth of stuff to make $100 in rubber ducks. I, as the tire maker, would say, I can't pay 55 for them. I'm not going to pay $55 for something that I think I can use to turn into something that's only worth 50. I'd be stupid to do it. Why would I pay 55 now to earn 50 in 6 months or a year? The rubber duck owner, company owner, on the other hand, he would be or she would be willing to say, okay, I'll pay 55 for them because what I'm going to use these things for is worth 100. So it's worth it to me. If they were right, they make a profit. In this case, $45. If, on the other hand, they were wrong and the rubber ducks they made with those resources were only worth $50, they would suffer a loss. $5 would come out of their pockets that wouldn't get put back in. So under capitalism, we know if the activities we're engaged in are making the world a better place. Governments, on the other hand, don't. They have no idea. Sure, we paid $100 to spy on Joe Smith and make sure he wasn't producing, distributing, or using narcotics, but we have no idea if or how much anybody would have been willing to pay for it. Maybe Joe's mom might have kicked in $5. Yeah, I know Joe ain't using the drugs, but I'd pay $5 to know. Meanwhile, they come to my door and say, hey, we're going to spy on Joe and make sure he's not using, producing, or distributing drugs. And I would say, I don't even know Joe Smith. I don't care if he's using drugs. You know, I'm not paying anything. But with our current system, the tax man comes and says, hey, mom, you're paying $5. Dr. Yohe, you're paying $5. You're paying $5. And then, you know, if we feel like it, we'll actually go out and make sure Joe isn't even using, distributing, or producing narcotics. So that's the thing. Under capitalism, firms know if they're creating wealth, governments never do. Under communism, all the factors of production are owned by governments. They don't even have a price. We don't even know what they're worth, let alone what the government's producing with them is worth. So we have no idea if we're producing wealth or not. The other thing is, what is a firm? A firm, I don't have a slide for it. A firm is it's not as easy to describe. Many people will describe a firm as a collection of contracts or agreements to keep costs down or to prevent someone from holding you up. And I'll give you an example of that. Let's say I'm producing tires, and there's a vital ingredient in tires, and it's rubber. Okay. Now, let's say the tire business is going good. I'm paying $40 for the stuff to make them, waiting 6 months, and I'm earning $50. At some point, if, let's say, someone else is supplying the rubber to me, they could come and look at that $10 and say, I'm raising my price. If you want to buy rubber from me, you're going to have to pay me $9 or $10 more for those to make that tire. That would eat up all my profit, and I'd be out of business. So I can't pay $10 more for the rubber, because then instead of paying $40 to make the tire, I'm paying $50. I only think the tire's worth $50. I'm out of business. All the investment, say in long-term capital goods like the tire making machines and the factory and the plant that I put in, now become almost worthless to me because I can't use them to make tires and make a profit. So as a firm, I might say, well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make my own rubber. So no one can do that to me. I'm going to buy a rubber tree plantation. I'm going to buy a factory to turn the raw materials into rubber that I can use to make a tire. And maybe it costs me a little more or a little less than the other guy. And I don't have to worry about being held up. I'm not going to go to myself and say, hey, I'm charging myself $10 more for rubber. So a lot of the things in a firm might just be contractual agreements, or where we take things out of the market into the firm to establish certainty, to reduce costs, to take advantage of um, of resources that we aren't fully using. Say like an HR department. Maybe we have 20 employees at the tire plant. We got an HR department. You got to hire an HR director. You have to have a benefits coordinator. You got to have a secretary running the office. They're more than able to handle 20 people. In fact, they could hire 100. But I only have 20 employees. Well, I've got this unused resource that I'm already paying for to make tires. I could buy the rubber plantation and the factory, bring in 80 more employees, but I don't have to pay any more in HR costs because I have a have an HR department that can handle 80 plus 20, 100 employees. So that's what a firm is in some people's view. It's a set of contracts or agreements that keep costs down, provide certainty in the business, etc. The last thing we want to talk about is communism and capitalism. Now, your book discusses these, and they talk about they talk about. Let me get to the right page. I'm trying to tell you what page it was on. Page 6 and 7. 6 is where they discuss communism. Now, your book points out that Karl Marx was sort of the father of communism. He was the first one. We could go all the way back to Sparta. Sparta had kind of a communist system. In Sparta, everything was sort of owned by the state for the most part, even your children. In Sparta, if you had, especially a boy, at a certain age, they took the boy away from the mom, put him in sort of a group home, and they taught the boy how to be a soldier and how to sneak around and kill people and things like that. Also, the elite could not own property. So if you were a member of the upper classes of Spartan society, the political class, you couldn't own property. You couldn't own property. Under communism, all the factors of production are owned by the government, by the state. All the land, all the capital goods, all of the labor, all of the technology, all these things are owned by the state. There are no private businesses. There are no private farms. There's nothing. Everything is owned by the state. You as a citizen are, in effect, owned by the government. The government can tell you what you're going to do. You may take an exam in grade school and they say, oh, you scored really high in math. You're going to be an engineer, and that's what you're going to be. You may say, no, I want to be an artist. I want to draw landscapes. They say, no, you are not. You're an engineer. There were laws in communist countries where if they found you loitering out on the streets, the state could literally pick you up and bring you somewhere and put you to work, and you had no choice. They own all the apartments. You don't own a house under communism. Everybody lives in state-provided housing, and the state decides what housing you get. Now, we all hear socialism. You can look at, there's Bernie Sanders who says, oh, I'm a democratic socialist, okay? There is no real difference between socialism and capitalism. Socialism and communism. Socialism, they believe that there should be a more gradual movement from private property to state ownership of the means of production. And that Bernie Sanders, for example, is a democratic socialist, supposedly. He would think that as long as we let people vote, they'll vote to take the factors of production away from their private owners and bring them under state ownership. It's just going to take some time. A very famous economist named Ludwig von Mises wrote a great paper called Middle of the Road Policies Must Lead to Socialism. And in this paper, Mises says that once you intervene on a free market, once the government comes in and starts to intervene and say, oh, here, we're going to use force to make you do something, that leads you automatically onto the road to socialism, that each and every state intervention creates problems in that market that lead to further state interventions to correct the problems created by the last. And eventually, you get to the point where the government takes ownership of those factors of production. Currently in this country, a perfect example is healthcare. We like to think we have a private or free enterprise healthcare system. We don't. The government came in back in the 1800s, and they said, well, there's quacks out there, and there's people selling snake oil, stuff that doesn't create illnesses, frauds. So they said, we need to protect people from these fraudsters. So what we're going to do is we're going to decide who can practice medicine. We'll decide what a doctor is. We'll set up requirements to be a doctor. Basically, you have to get a bachelor's degree and then go to an American Medical Association approved med school. The AMA is a doctors' union. They want to create high wages for doctors, so doctors will pay to be members of their union. So they restrict the number of AMA-approved medical schools and the number of seats in them to restrict the supply of doctors, causing the supply of doctors to be reduced and increasing the wages and salaries that they get paid. The government said we don't want snake oil, so we're going to create the FDA, the Federal Food and Drug Administration. The FDA will test medicines and decide if they actually work or not. And then you can go out and tell people, hey, we got medicine for your illness. It can cost billions of dollars to take a drug through the FDA process. This restricts the supply of medicines out there, also increasing the cost of medicine, the cost of doctor salaries, the cost of medicines. That increases healthcare costs. As healthcare costs went up, suddenly we get a situation where people are having a problem affording medical care. If you look back before the government got involved in the Wild West, a guy gets shot in the shoulder or something in a shootout. They bring him to town, they find a doctor or a barber or even a dentist who pulls the bullet out and patches the wound up and says, you're good to go. And, the guy flips him a $5 gold coin, which today would be worth $60, I think. Oh, not even, $400. Is that right? Yeah, about $400. So that was it. You're done. People paid for their medical care just like they paid for their food or whatever they consumed. Well, as prices start to go up, some people can't afford to pay for catastrophic injuries and treatments. So the government decides to intervene in this market. And what they do is, instead of telling you got to buy it, like they did with Obamacare, which Trump rescinded, supposedly, sort of, the government said, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a system where we have a third-party payer. The first party is the patient, second party is the doctor, some third party, trying to get my fingers here in the right way, some third party, the insurance company, is going to pay the bills. This creates a problem. How do we get people to buy the insurance? We can't make them. This is before Obamacare, when people thought government can't make you buy something from a private company. How do we make people buy the insurance? They said, what we'll do is we'll set it up through your employer. We'll give your employer tax breaks for paying insurance premiums rather than salary. So if the insurer pays you with healthcare premium benefits, we'll give them tax breaks. So the companies offer insurance to their employees at a reduced cost. I work here at Gadsden State. I don't exactly, but my insurance when I started here was worth about $1,000 a month if I had to pay the premiums on my own. But because my employer gets tax breaks, they will offer to pay about $800 of the insurance. It's probably less than that. And then I pay the $200. For me, it's a good deal. For $200, I get an $800 insurance policy, a $1,000 insurance policy. To my employer, it's a good deal because instead of paying me $800 extra and not getting the increased tax benefits, they pay it to the insurance company and they get a tax benefit. So they're better off, or they think they are. Now, this creates a situation where people who have jobs that offer insurance, those people buy the insurance. I won't refuse it because if I say, oh, I don't want the insurance policy, I'm giving up $800 in benefits for nothing. My employer won't pay me an extra $800 on my paycheck because I turned the insurance down. It's use it or lose it. So I'll take it. This creates a situation where people go to the doctor more. If by going to the doctor, someone else pays most of the cost of that, you're going to go to the doctor more. That increases the demand for medical care and increases its price, becomes more costly. Then it gets to the point where people with low incomes and the elderly, people on Social Security, can't or say they can't afford to buy insurance. They can't afford to pay for it. It's too costly. They don't have the money. So the government intervenes in the market again with what we call Medicare and Medicaid. They say, don't worry, we'll give you taxpayer-funded insurance. We won't make you pay for the insurance. We'll stick a gun in people's ribs on April 15th. We'll make them pay your medical bills, or most of them. So the poor and the elderly opt into the insurance system because the government pays for it by extorting taxpayers. This creates an increase in demand for medical insurance. Think about it. If you don't have a job, you're going to go to the doctor more. Okay? I hardly ever go to the doctor. I'm like, if I go to the doctor, he's on the same hours I am. I can't go to work. I can't make money if I go to the doctor. I don't want to go. I'll take some cold medicine or suffer through it. If you have nothing to do during the day because you don't work, why not go to the doctor more? So these people use the doctor, the health system more, increasing the demand. That increases the cost. Now it's getting to the point where insurance is so expensive, people are having a problem paying for it. And some people weren't. So we had the Affordable Care Act, where the government basically doesn't give anyone any more free insurance. They say, if you don't have insurance, you're going to pay for it anyway, basically. And what we're going to do is when you fill your taxes out, you click a box saying I have insurance. We'll leave you alone. If you click a box that says I don't have insurance, we're going to fine you. And those fines go up every year, and they're getting to the point where it's about the same as the cost of insurance. And we're going to force more employers to offer their employees insurance. And we'll create these markets for insurance where you can go on and buy it if you don't have it, pay for it out of your own pocket. This has created more people going to the doctor, causing medical costs to go up even higher. I'm pretty sure soon insurance is going to be too expensive for most regular people to afford. And the government is going to socialize healthcare like they have in Canada and in Britain, where the government says we own the healthcare system. We decide how much of it we're going to provide, and you get services based on how long you wait in line. Okay, so that's communism. Socialism is just getting there, but slower. Marx thought that there were different groups of people had different types of logic. There was the proletariat. These are people who do not own capital goods. They're workers. He thought that if you did not own capital goods, that you were a proletariat and you possess proletarian logic. If, on the other hand, you own capital goods, you own land, labor, capital goods, etc., then you're a member of the bourgeoisie or bourgeois, and you possess bourgeois logic. Bourgeois logic is different from proletarian logic. Under capitalism, people who own the factors of production make the decisions in society. So Marx said that society would be run by bourgeois logic. Marx thought that proletarian logic was superior to bourgeois logic. And he thought that one day workers would realize this, the proletariat, and that they would violently rise up and overthrow their capitalist overlords. In doing so, they would replace bourgeois logic with proletarian logic. Now, to do this, you have to eliminate bourgeois logic and institutions from your society, firms and other things like that, business associations, schools, whatever. And there's only one way to do that, and that is to kill them. Maybe you could re-educate a couple, but the answer to the solution was to hunt down and eliminate the bourgeois. Once this was done, the government, the communist government, would slowly wither away, and we would all become Marxist supermen. You would wake up in the morning, you would no longer think, what's best for me, right? I wake up in the morning, first thought on my mind is I'm hungry. I say, I need to go eat breakfast. I satisfy my own wants and needs first. According to Marx, and everybody else does. According to Marx, you would wake up in the morning and say, I'm hungry. What does mankind need from me? And maybe you have some spidey sense. He doesn't explain how you'd know this, but you would satisfy society's needs and put them above your own. So I wake up in the morning, I say, I'm hungry. And I say, oh, the proletariat needs the trash taken out. So I throw on a set of overalls. I run out the door. Maybe you had the same thought. You put on your overalls, ran down to the dump and grabbed a trash truck and are driving around the corner. And I hop on the back. And you and I drive around town for 4 hours, emptying the trash cans and taking them to the dump. Then we think, I'm really hungry. What does the proletariat need from me? Oh, low-cost housing. So we run down to a local architect's studio where someone else had that idea, and they've set it up and put pencils and pens out for us. And we suddenly design low-cost housing for the proletariat. Then we say, I'm really, really hungry. And they say, oh, the proletariat needs entertainment. So we run down to a playhouse, and maybe I write a play and you write the music, and someone else runs down there and writes the lyrics to the songs, and someone else builds the stage, and then we put on a play for the proletariat. And we're just as good at every single thing, one of these things, as we are at anything else. We're good at them all. Under capitalism, we have what's called the division of labor and specialization. Most people in their lives do one small aspect of what gets done at the place they work. Here at Gadsden State, I teach. I teach economics, business, and business stat. I don't teach English. Gosh, thank goodness I don't. I don't teach welding. Oh gosh, if I taught welding, nothing would work. Okay, and I don't collect the money. I don't even know how much it costs to go to school here. If you ask me, what's my tuition? I'm like, I don't know. Go pay it because I need to get paid. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know how you pay for it. I don't know. Do you take credit cards? I think they do, right? Um, I don't run the computers because I don't even know anything about. I know economics. I know business, and I know a few things. But most of the stuff that goes on here, I don't even know how to do it. I don't know how to take your money. I'd say, okay, thanks for the money, right? You want a receipt? I don't know how to get your receipt. But we focus on these narrow things and we get good at it. And hopefully I'm good at teaching these things. On the other hand, someone else collects the money and they're really good at it. Someone else teaches English and they're really good at it. And that's all they do and they get better at it. It's all I do. I get better at it. It's all the people collecting the money. They get better at it. They learn more and better ways to collect money. According to Marx, we'd all be just as good at anything. So I could work teaching economics today. Tomorrow I could collect the money. After that, I empty the trash cans. I wouldn't even be good at taking trash cans. I got a weak stomach. If I had to smell your trash, I'd probably throw up. I would probably just be on the back of the truck throwing up all day. Oh, it stinks. Oh my gosh, it stinks so bad in here. Some people can put up with the smell. Also, you tend to do things you're suited for. Okay, I love economics. I talk about it all day. Most people find it boring. I can do it all day. I don't tell anybody. I do it for free. Thank God I don't have to. That's good. And believe me, I'm rolling in it here. You wouldn't believe how much they pay me. My wife is probably laughing if she sees this. Don't let my wife see this. But anyway, the socialists want that end state. They want the factors of production taken from private hands and put into control of becoming owned by the state. They want to eliminate bourgeois logic and institutions from society. They want to replace them with proletarian logic. They want to get to that end state where everybody's a Marxist man, but they don't want to violently overthrow the bourgeois. They think we'll do it through democratic processes, we'll do it more slowly, but eventually we're going to get there. Okay, that's it for this lecture. Thank you very much. I'm going to try and make more of these. This is my first time teaching this course, so I don't have these lectures pre-established. The lady who used to teach this course left. She went to another college, so I'm going to try and keep up with it. Okay, be patient with me. Thank you very much. Goodbye.